You ever see that stat where 50% of acquisitions fail? And you wonder why, like, some of them just skyrocket, others just fizzle away. So it's not really the size of the deal. It's what you do next after you buy it. And most first-time buyers leave millions sitting right on the table. Question is, do you know what to do next? Hi, I'm John Stoddard. I've helped buyers close $33 million in deals and raise $50 million in funding. If you're working full-time and want to buy a business without wasting years on junk deals, hit that subscribe button right now and stick around. You should watch this video. All right, part 1, the illusion of more. After an acquisition, most buyers, like, they sprint into this, I got to do more, more products, more services. You know what? When I had my e-commerce company, I added, at the most at one time, I had 13 hearing aids for sale. Yeah, no kidding. It's just more noise. But activity really isn't progress. Charlie Munger said, the big money is not in the buying or selling, but in the waiting. So, translation, slow down, focus, cut the fluff. I had a podcast guest. He bought a company where the seller bragged about having 10 revenue streams. That sounded great, right? When he dug in, only 2 were actually profitable. The rest, dead weight, draining cash. Once we decided to cut the losers, margins in his business doubled. Part 2, unmasking that 20%. You know the Pareto principle, 80% of your revenue comes in 20% of your products. This is the Pareto principle in real life. 80% of revenue comes from 20% of customers, products, and contracts. At your first job after closing, find that 20%. Ray Dalio built Bridgewater on constant truth seeking. And that's really what you have to do, is cut through the BS, right? And just get to the point. What makes the bell ring? He drilled his team. What's working? What's not? You need to have the same brutal honesty. And sometimes, if you haven't done it before, bring in an advisor or a mentor. One of my students acquired a service company. When he pulled the numbers, he saw 70% of profits came from 3 contracts. Once he doubled down on those, actually growth took off. All right, part 3, the J. Abraham blueprint. This is a guy I follow for years. I bought his books. J. Abraham says there are only 3 ways to grow a business. Number 1, you can grow the number of customers. That just means spending more or sending more SEO, earned or paid. Or, number 2, grow the size of each purchase, right? You can upsell, upsell, upsell. You ever seen a Russell Brunson funnel? Use upsells 4 times to buy 5 packages of, protein powder. Or number 3, grow the frequency of purchase. This is why SaaS businesses were getting so many multiples, because they just order and order and order again. And that's it. Like, it's simple, but insanely effective. Now, the real blueprint of a widely successful business, you got to acquire assets or deploy those assets that are highly effective at producing sales. Then convert those sales into earnings. And here's the kicker, though. You can't spend earnings. You can only spend cash. I've looked at thousands of businesses over the last 30 years. I even worked at Intuit for a while, so I saw thousands of income statements. And I've yet to see one that wasn't wasting 8 to 10% of revenue on stuff that made no difference to the business. Now, think about that. You could go in and wipe out 10% of expenses in 60 days. That's a quick win, right? But increasing sales by 25%, that's a multi-month initiative at best. And sometimes your marketing doesn't work. You could try this ad, gets denied by Google, this ad, etc. You can go on, and it takes time. Now, if your expenses are 90% of revenue, like a lot of SMBs, you cut those, chopping 11% off of cost, you could double your profits. That's leverage, right? Right to your bottom line. And that's actually growth hacking. Part 4, amplify the vital few. Well, Once you know where your winners are. So back to my hearing aid story, when I had 11, I said, this is not working. It's just causing more and more operational issues. So we went down to 3 hearing aids, right? Good, better, best. Lower price, medium price, higher price. That was it. And then we went all in. Like, I shifted capital, shifted talent, and it shifted my calendar, right? It just made it a lot simpler to sell. That's how the growth loops get created. Systems that reinforce themselves. One of my students bought a cleaning company. At first, he tried to do everything to everyone: residential, commercial, post-construction. All in all, the margins were terrible. When we looked closer, 80% of profits came from reoccurring office cleaning contracts. So he doubled down there, and he cut the marketing for low margin jobs, trained his crews for commercial only, and started upselling add-ons like carpet care. And what do you think happened? 18 months later, revenue didn't just grow, it became predictable, and the business was suddenly worth way more to buyers, right? So focus scales the business and distractions don't. Part 5, future-proofing your growth engine. Now, here's the kicker again. Your 20% today will not be your 20% tomorrow. The markets shift, tech evolves, and customers need change. They just move around. Brian Tracy said, in a time of rapid change, standing still is the most dangerous choice you can make. That's why you need to recheck your numbers quarterly. You can embed that 80-20 thinking into your team's DNA and leverage it with the AI and tech to surface patterns you may miss on your own. That's how you build a business that keeps compounding long after the ink is dry. All right, let's land this plane. The illusion of more, kind of dangerous. The 20%, that's your gold mine. And the J. Abrams blueprint, increase the number of customers, increase the size of the purchase, increase the frequency of the purchase. That's your roadmap. And elimination, that actually helps. I went down from 11 hearing aids to 3, good, better, best. That's your superpower. And amplification, rocket fuel, right? It just kind of creates this loop. And that future proofing, using AI to stay ahead, looking at those trends, right? Looking at the profit trends, looking at CAC trends, customer acquisition cost. Big companies use the same moves. Now, you can too with AI, whether it's your first deal or your 5th. All right, if you found this useful, smash that subscribe button. And if you're serious about buying your first business, head over to dealflowsystem.net. I can help. That's where I show you how to find, fund, and close your first deal the smart way. I'm John Stoddard, and I'll see you on the next one.